Fury by Aaron Alston contains some exciting personal developments for the Calrissian family. Lando suddenly has to leave Han and Leia and return to his wife Tendra because, surprise, surprise, Tendra is pregnant. For me, as the reader, this was also surprising news because Tendra and Lando have been together for decades at this point, and there has been no hint that they were interested in starting a family, but I'm happy for them, even if the more I think about the chronology, the more I am a little concerned, because at this point in time, Lando is 70, I think. And while I knew that Tendra was younger than him, I didn't think she was considerably younger than him. And in fact, when I verified on Wikipedia, I found out that when the Corellian trilogy by Roger McBride Allen takes place, she's supposed to be in her 30s. Which means that now, Tendra is pregnant in her 50s, but it's Star Wars. Maybe they have ways of extending human fertility beyond our Earth standards. So as with the previous book, Inferno, I am mainly going into this read blind. I am trying to avoid as many spoilers as I can. So yeah, a lot of things caught me by surprise here, and not just Tendra having a baby. So, a brief summary. While the Jedi regroup and reevaluate their next strategy on the sanctuary moon of Endor, the task force of Jaina Solo, Zek, and Jagged Fell continue to try to hunt down Alema Rar, who they believe is the real killer of Mara Jade Skywalker. And as this galactic civil war between the Alliance and the Confederates rages on, Jacen makes plans to kidnap the only person he thinks is still loyal to him, his own child. So compared to book number 6, Inferno, which felt like very little action in the first half and then loads of action in the second half, Fury feels a bit more consistently paced in that there are a lot of things going on, but they are spread out all throughout the novel. We first have, yes, Jacen's successful kidnapping of his daughter, Alana, an attempt on the Jedi's part to confront Jacen, and when that doesn't succeed, it turns out that actually their plan all along was to plant a tracker on him. Han and Leia and Jaina and the boys have several encounters with Alema Rar, and then they sneak on board Jacen's flagship, the Anakin Solo, so that while Leia talks to him, the rest can get information off of his shuttle to figure out the location of Lumaya's asteroid. And while all that's going on, the Jedi show up in starfighters to confront Jacen again, and that's when they first realize that he has a child hostage with him. The Solo gang head off to Lumaya's asteroid and finally confront Alema once and for all. Meanwhile, Tenel Ka finally talks to the Jedi and says, "Please get my daughter back." And so the end of the book is this big climactic action in which, while Jacen is attacking Centerpoint Station, the Jedi sneak on board his flagship, half of them to confront him and be decoys, while another group led by Han and Leia rescue Alana. And the book ends with Jaina realizing that to successfully face off against her brother, she's going to need to learn some new tactics, and it's heavily hinted that she's going to seek out Boba Fett to teach her more. So let's talk about Jaina and the boys first. Someone finally confronts Jaina about this obsessive attitude she has towards honing herself as the sword of the Jedi. And that person is Jag Fell. He points out that you can over-sharpen a blade, and that's a bad thing. And in that focusing so heavily on being the sword, she's forgetting about the Jedi part and the other responsibilities she has. And his words do sort of get through to her, although she is still convinced that she is the only person that can confront her brother. Jag, meanwhile, has been obsessed in his own way with dealing with Alema Rar, finally killing Alema Rar, and then he'd restore his family's honor. But another Solo, Leia, points out to him that he's acting like a man without anything tethering him to this galaxy. That it's almost like he sees Alema Rar as this last mission to complete, and then there's not really any reason for him to live beyond it. Almost a variation on what Jaina's going through. And it does look during that final confrontation with Alema that Jag isn't gonna make it, but deep inside he does want to live, and fortunately he survives. And at the end of the book, Jaina and Jag seem on much friendlier terms, that she recognizes he helped her and he definitely wants to be a part of stopping this civil war and confronting Jacen in whatever way he can. Zek has a moment too where, because of his dark side history, he's able to communicate with the Sith meditation sphere, and in fact convince it to abandon Alema and return to its homeworld. And that dark side pool stuff on Alema's asteroid almost consumes him, but he's also able to pull through in the end. I guess I appreciated that Jaina had plenty to do in this novel. She's too focused on what she needs to get done for that relationship stuff to be lurking. And I think I actually liked that Jag was the one to kill Alema, because I think in the end, Alema has lost so much, Alema has fallen so far, that it doesn't need to be a Jedi duel that ends her, but just Jag almost performing a mercy kill, that he recognizes what she's lost, but also she's a mess. She can't keep running around doing what she's doing, trying to get revenge on the Solos. It was such a sad fall for her, that was never what she was meant to be, but her experiences led her to this point. On the Han and Leia front, Leia confronts Jacen, Leia speaks with Jacen, but it's a delaying mechanism. She's trying to keep his attention away from something else, and I think she's realized that you just can't reason with him at this point, that even if you told Jacen everything, his thinking is so warped that he wouldn't believe you and it wouldn't have any effect on what he does. Which is so sad, because part of what I love about the original trilogy is how Luke's love for his father brings him back to the light, even if for so short of time. But it seems like 7 books into the series, there's nothing you can do or say to Jacen that would make him change this track he's on. Wedge is here again. Actually, the whole Antilles family is here again, although he doesn't play as large of a role as he did in Betrayal or in Exile. I think more what the Antilles family plotline shows us in the form of Sile Antilles is that people within the Galactic Alliance, as well as people within the Confederation, are realizing that this is a pointless war. At this point, what are they fighting over? Sile is on one side and her father is on the other. And even someone like Tycho Selchu recognizes that what the Alliance is doing isn't great, but he has to follow orders, but can he follow the spirit of the order and not always actually carry it out? And in fact, we see several instances of just things needlessly escalating, that the Galactic Alliance drops asteroids on Commonor that goes beyond the rules of warfare. And then Commonor reciprocates by using biological warfare to make people ill on Coruscant. The Corellians fire Centerpoint Station at the Galactic Alliance fleet, hoping to take out Jacen Solo and the Anakin Solo Star Destroyer, but they fail. And by the Jedi strike team sabotaging Centerpoint Station, the fact that one of the operatives planned to fire on Coruscant directly leads to its destruction. While the Civil War may have started out being fought for very distinct reasons, everything is murky now. And I think those similarities between Jacen and Darth Vader only increase as he's pushing for actions that a lot of people don't want to carry out. From the cover, which features Ben Skywalker pointing his lightsaber at someone, I expected that Ben would play a prominent role here, but he really doesn't. He's content to just stay on the Sanctuary moon of Endor. He has a really good conversation with his dad at one point, which points out to Luke that he has given up. He's grieving Mara so much that while he hasn't consciously realized that he wants to die, he doesn't want to take responsibility to lead the Jedi Order, and that's a way of seeking death in the end. And then Ben is part of that decoy team consisting of Luke and Saba Sabatine, who confront Jacen while Leia and Han and Ayala and Antilles rescue Alana. But he's not as focused on revenge as I expected, especially with a title like Fury. I thought going into the book that Ben would still be trying to carry out revenge for his mother's murder against Jacen, and while he still suspects Jacen of his mom's death, he doesn't tell anyone about it. And so we do end another whole book with no one knowing that Jacen killed Mara. With Luke too, his actions, his plans for the Jedi are pretty cautious, but I guess it makes sense for the attitude that he's taken here. I had sort of thought coming out of Inferno where he was consumed by grief and then he's like, but we still have to follow the Alliance, to being like, screw the Alliance, we're siding with the Confederates, this is wrong. I guess I expected a little more bombastic action plans here, but I think the point of grief is that you can get over a hurdle, but you're not out of the clear. You still have things to deal with. And at this point, her death is so new that he's still processing a lot of stuff. So we have a Jedi strike team sent to confront Jacen. One of the members is killed. Kyle Katarn is grievously wounded, but not dead. He's not dead. Although I'll save some of that for the issues section. They're able to escape. We do find out that they planted a tracker on Jacen's person that he is unaware of, and that was actually the Jedi plan all along, that they didn't think they'd be able to successfully take out Jacen, so settling for being able to track him is good enough for now. Then the Jedi and their starfighters show up to confront Jacen in the Anakin Solo because, yep, they're tracking him. He thinks they're tracking Alana, but it's not until they go to fire on him and Luke realizes there's a child in his TIE fighter that they're like, whoa, wait a minute, what's going on here? And that plays into their final plan where Tenel Ka requests that the Jedi please rescue her child. They know he's going to be attacking Centerpoint Station after the events of the previous battle, and they're in the right place at the right time. And then on the bad guy front, in the previous book, Alema had gone to the Sith world of Korriban and talked to a group calling themselves the One Sith, requesting help with Jacen. We see some more of the One Sith here, who are a group who are most prominently featured in the Legacy comic, and they send a woman to destroy Lumaya's asteroid base. And they do destroy it, but they also take off chasing the Sith meditation sphere because they want it. And I'm not sure we'll see any more of them in this series, but they are definitely like a teaser Easter egg for that future generation comic series. Alema starts using a trick that Lumaya prominently used in the first book, Betrayal. I did wish that we had seen a little bit more of this, a little bit more of Lumaya using her Force phantoms, because it was an interesting idea, but it sort of mainly fell off the radar after book 1. Well, it returns here. Alema's using it. I guess it wasn't an inherent skill of Lumaya's, but rather something that she could access based on that dark side energy that's filled on the asteroid. And so Alema sends phantoms of herself. Once they confront her on the asteroid, she sends phantoms of Minox, and sometimes the phantoms are linked to a specific person, but we don't get any logistical stuff behind that, how she does that, just that she can do that. I do think it is very interesting that when Alema appears as a phantom, she appears as she once was, because so much of her revenge journey has been powered by the fact that she lost her beauty, she lost her health, she lost her sanity, and so in projecting an image of herself, it's as she once was, not as she is now. Do I wish in the end that Alema maybe would have died sooner because I'm not super interested in her? Yeah, probably. It's just she was so underpowered compared to the people that she was confronting that it always surprised me when she got away. But she's finally gone. And in the end, she was killed not with anger or anything like that, but with regret and sadness of how far she had fallen. And finally, Jacen. Oh boy, Jacen. I think that the loss of Tenel Ka's loyalty was a huge blow to him, that he had never even realized that she would withdraw her support until she did at the end of Inferno. And now the only person he trusts is his child? So he kidnaps her. He uses her as a hostage to guarantee her mother's good behavior. He threatens to kill Alana if Tenel Ka doesn't withdraw her support from the Confederate and put her fleets back. Tenel Ka believes him, and at first I was like, but he would never kill Alana. But at this point, he turns like at the snap of a finger on people. I feel like so much of the motivation behind what Jacen has done is it's for Alana, it's for Alana's future, that I think it would have to be really bad to make Jacen turn on his child, and I don't see that happening yet, but maybe it could happen, so maybe it is a viable threat to Tenel Ka. And then he can't keep her out of his sight. She always has to be there. So he's carting her around everywhere in a box. She's hidden on the Anakin Solo. She's always wherever he is. And she's a little kid, but she's a smart kid. So she recognizes that her mother didn't agree to this. Her mother didn't hand her off to Jacen. Jacen has stolen her. But also she loves Jacen. Jacen reveals that he's her dad. Yet at the same time, when Han and Leia and Ayala come to rescue her, all it takes is giving her the message from her mother that has the key words, and she wants to go back. She instantly wants to go back to her mom. And I think to show how far Jacen has fallen is just the parts where Alana's upset, Alana's confused, Alana can't process what's going on around her, and he can't explain it to her. He can't sympathize with her. In going down this dark path, he has lost so much of his humanity that when a child is scared, he does nothing. He's still trying to work with Admiral Niathal, but I wonder at this point whether it's only a matter of time until he disposes of her and takes power for himself, because it seems like this duumvirate, whatever it is for a two-person, isn't really working because Jacen wants ultimate power. And he thinks that using his Sith battle meditation that he can predict anything, he can win any battle, but he's also become himself predictable in that the Jedi know as soon as the Corellians use Center Point Station against the fleet that he's going to attack Center Point Station. He wants it for himself. There's a very, very minor character here of this lieutenant in the Galactic Alliance who Jacen praises because she notices the tracker on his cloak. But when she admits that she let Tycho Selchu's shuttle on board the Anakin Solo because it had the code words, nothing looks suspicious, that's a betrayal on his part, and he kills her. And I think earlier in the series, he had a lot of support with the Alliance troops and the Galactic Alliance Guard, but I'm wondering if that will start to fade away as his behavior just becomes more and more intense and illogical, that he counted on that support from the people under him, but that might fade. So I have to say, on a whole, I enjoyed Fury more than Inferno, and I definitely enjoyed it more than Sacrifice. So far, Sacrifice has been like the lowest point for me, but I did have some issues here. The first is, I don't think an issue limited to just Fury, but to the series as a whole, but I am constantly surprised by Tenel Ka's inactivity here. I think you could argue that when Jacen kidnaps Alana and delivers his ultimatum of, I will kill your daughter if you don't do what I say, that she views this as a legitimate threat and that she wouldn't, take off and try to get her herself. But I was surprised by how long it took until she talked to the Jedi and let them know about the situation and said, hey, I'm totally okay with you guys rescuing my daughter, please. And again, it comes down to my understanding of Tenel Ka being totally different than what the authors envisioned here, that I always viewed her as that no-nonsense warrior princess, and now that she's Queen of Hapes, while she does have duties to much more than just herself, I'm always surprised by the way that she feels underused here, that it's like she's a woman in a pretty dress now, and not that little Dathomiri girl wearing lizard skins. And obviously she's changed, she's matured, but I'm always wanting more with her, and then I'm shocked when I don't receive it. And perhaps I should just expect that now, but every time it comes as a little bit of a blow. That redheaded fighter is gone. My second issue is just how Jacen's ability as a fighter, as a duelist, is portrayed. In the very first book, he kills Nalani Din, and I felt like that was a combination of her being much less skilled than him, and also surprised that, she wasn't expecting him to murder her at all. In book number 5, Mara is wailing the bejesus out of him. She's winning so hard, and he is only able to kill her through trickery. He uses misdirection. He makes himself look like Ben. She hesitates for a minute, and he poisons her and she dies. And then in book number 6, in Inferno, when he's fighting Luke, for the first half of the fight, he is at a disadvantage. Luke is winning here. In the second half, he has more of the upper hand, but it still comes down to, I think Luke could have killed him there if Luke had been like, no, Ben, I don't want you to fall to the dark side, let's leave. It feels like Luke Skywalker is so OP that he could have taken him out there were it not for the fact that we have 3 more books. When Kyle Katarn and the other Jedi confront Jacen on Coruscant, I'm surprised he was able to take Kyle out like that. And maybe this is my knowledge of the computer games, but Kyle has always felt like such a force to me that I guess I had imagined if you were to go up in a lightsaber fight against Kyle Katarn that he would be a formidable enemy. And I just felt like Jacen took him out too easily in the end. So it feels like there's this discontinuity between how powerful Jacen is and the constraints of the plot. I guess what I'm getting at here is that from the New Jedi Order series, I never got the sense that Jacen was the ultimate fighter. That yes, he's very skilled, he's very able, but that his strongest abilities lay elsewhere. And in fact, that's how he defeated Onami. He didn't use a lightsaber. He became one with the Force. And that if anyone was the superior duelist, it's Jaina, who Luke prophesied to be the sword of the Jedi. And maybe that's why Jaina hasn't confronted Jacen up to now, but it just feels like Jacen's fighting skills ebb and flow based on the demands of the books, and just, yeah, I thought Kyle was better than that. So then it seems like, okay, well, if he could take on one Jedi Master, why not just throw all of them at him? Problem solved, right? So, in short, Fury contained a number of battles and confrontations evenly spaced throughout. There's a heavy focus on Jacen, as well as Jaina and Leia and Han and the boys finally confronting Alema Rar. And after 5 books of inaction, it's exciting to see the Jedi actually doing things and actually having a plan. I do feel like there are some assumptions you have to just accept going into this book. The main one for me being that Tenel Ka's child would be kidnapped and she wouldn't do anything about it for most of the book. But on the whole, I felt like Fury was a pretty solid read, and I'm interested to see what happens next as Jaina decides that she must be the one to confront her brother and she has to learn more. So next time I'm going to be reading book number 8, the penultimate book in the Legacy of the Force series, Revelation by Karen Travis. Although he's not as major of a character as he was in Betrayal or in... what was that one? Betrayal, Bloodlines, Tempest, Exile? Exile.